Hello and welcome to this video. As you know by the title, we are going to read 2024 releases for 24 hours, and as much as I would love to do a full straight 24-hour readathon and stay up all night, that's just not in the cards for me right now. There's just not a good day with my work schedule and my life schedule to do that at the moment. So I am going to do what I've seen some other booktubers do and just use my phone to keep track of the number of hours that I've read throughout this week. This week is 4th of July and thankfully I do get the actual day off, and then I took Friday off because I didn't want to go to work after being up late setting off fireworks and stuff. So I have a 4-day weekend, which hopefully means I'll be able to get some good reading in. But my reading list so far is only 3 books long. The first book is The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. I have read some of Leigh Bardugo's other books, like Ninth House, and really enjoyed them. And obviously they wrote the Six of Crows books, and so many people love those as well. But this seems like it's going to be a somewhat different style of book, and I'm just really excited to get into it. It kind of, it kind of has like a dark feeling to it, which tends to be the kind of vibe that I really appreciated. To be honest, at this point, like I have read the synopsis at some point, but that was a while ago, and I've kind of gotten to the point where I forgot what it said. But I do like going into my books a little bit blind, so I'm just gonna let it be and not read the synopsis before I actually start reading this book. The next book is What Feasts at Night, which I believe is the sequel to What Moves the Dead, which I really enjoyed. It was kind of just like a fun, I don't know if fun's the right word, kind of like a creepy story where, like, spoilers I guess if you haven't read the previous book, where like mushrooms were taking over this woman's body even though she was dead, and it was like reanimating her and also doing it to some bunnies and stuff. It was a very interesting book, and it's nice and short, which I love on 24-hour readathons because they're just quick to read, and I feel like you can get just a nice little victory finishing an easy short book. This book, again, don't know exactly what it's about, but it says enter a cold, silent forest and find out what feasts at night in this new gothic tale from best-selling and award-winning author T. Kingfisher, set in the world of What Moves the Dead. So set in the same world, but I don't know if it's following the same characters or not. I guess we'll find out. And then the last physical book that I have is A Magical Girl Returns. The other 2 books I knew were coming out and I was excited for them. This one is a complete wild card. I just saw it one day while I was in Barnes & Noble and I was intrigued because the art is beautiful. And I know you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but I mean, come on. Like, look how beautiful this is. And it is a translated work, I believe from Korean, and it's about real life magical girls, but because it's bringing them into the real world, they're having to do like job fairs and things like that. And it sounds like a very interesting concept. So I'm excited to see how this goes. This is another one that should be pretty quick to get through. The spacing in this is pretty wide also, and it looks like there are a few pictures throughout the book as well. So I'm just intrigued about this one and really excited to read it. And the last book that I kind of want to get to is Funny Story. I really enjoyed Happy Place, and I don't normally enjoy romance books. I went through a phase in like middle school, early high school where I was really into romance books, and then I kind of got sick of them, and now I think I'm starting to dive back into them. But I don't enjoy romance books where the romance is like the entire plot. And I know Happy Place, it kind of is the entire plot, but they're going back to a previous relationship. They're seeing the trauma that they've been through. They're also showing friendships with other friends and what the friends are going through. And so it's not just so focused on solely their relationship. I think it's more fun when there's other stuff going on at the same time. So I'm excited to read Funny Story. I've heard it's supposed to be kind of like a sort of like a romantic comedy sort of situation, but we will see. I don't physically own the book, but I do have a credit on Audible, so I'm tempted to buy it on Audible so that I have something to listen to as an audiobook during this next 24 hours, because we're having people over for the 4th of July and I'll be cleaning and working out and stuff. And so it would be nice to be able to listen to a book to be able to accomplish some of those 24 hours. So that said, I am actually about to go to bed, but I do kind of want to start one of these books. And I think it's gonna be this one because I'm just so intrigued about it. I feel like also when you read translated books, you sometimes have different tropes than you would get in the books that are set in your own country. So in America, maybe we have all of these tropes, but then in Asia, maybe you have these different tropes that we wouldn't typically see in our literature. So I'm excited to see what things in here maybe are different than what I'm used to. And also, like, it's just so pretty. I just love looking at it. So I'm gonna go take a shower, get ready for bed, and then do a little bit of reading before I fall asleep, hopefully. Okay, so I'm cooking dinner right now, but I thought it was a good time to kind of give a little check-in on my reading. I think I've read about 4.5 hours. Yeah, 4 hours and 36 minutes so far. And that's mostly been audiobook because my commute today from work to get home was absolutely horrible. I don't know why it was so much worse than normal, but it took me about an hour and 20 minutes to get home, which is ridiculous. Normally it takes like 45 minutes to an hour. So that wasn't fun. But I'm really, really enjoying Funny Story. I appreciate Emily Henry's ability to throw in like past trauma into this relationship and to start the relationship off almost at like an ending point. And at this point, like, I don't actually know if these characters are going to end up together, but because it's a romance book, I'm kind of assuming they are, but I don't really know. But basically, and this is not a spoiler because it's in the synopsis, our main female character, she was just dumped by her fiance. It sounds like maybe like a month or two before their wedding, and he left her for his childhood best friend who was dating some other guy. And so she ends up moving into this other guy's apartment with him because she just needs somewhere to live because she was living with her fiance in their house. And he was like, yeah, basically you need to get out. And so it's showing both of them kind of grieving the loss of their relationship and then also getting to know each other. And then they get RSVP, or they get wedding invitations for their ex's wedding. And obviously they're not thrilled about it, but this is a little bit spoilery. They get drunk and decide to RSVP to their wedding, and then she gets a phone call from her ex where he's like, you know, you don't have to show up, I know you'll be sad, blah blah blah, and then she lies and says that she is dating her roommate, which obviously shocks her ex. And now they kind of have to go on this whole time pretending like they're dating. And so like some people know that they're fake dating and other people think that they're actually dating because obviously rumors spread. And I don't know, it's just a really interesting book. I will say sometimes when I'm listening to audiobooks in the car, I kind of like zone out and start thinking about other things, but this one has really kept me engaged because I'm just interested in the story. I don't know, it's a fun read, definitely a good read for the summer. There's some comedy in it, and I feel embarrassed for the characters. Sometimes, like secondhand embarrassment, but if a book can do that, I feel like it's written well. And the other book that I've been reading, the Magical Girl book, I haven't gotten super far. I think I'm like 40 or 50 pages in, but I am enjoying it. The only thing I will say is I'm having a hard time with the translation in some areas because I'm sure it's translated correctly, but grammatically some of the sentence structures or the way that they arrange a sentence feels awkward. Like it's not technically wrong, but they switch words around that maybe I wouldn't put them in the order. It just doesn't flow as well, and so it did take me a little while to kind of get into reading it and feel like I was comfortable with the way it was written. I feel like I've gotten to that point. But that book starts us off where we have this character who's sitting at the top of a bridge, and she is considering unaliving herself, which obviously is a sad start to the book. But then there's this taxi that comes by and it does a U-turn and stops, and a girl comes out and is like, you need to get in my car, I am a magical girl. And it seems like these magical girls don't have overwhelming powers. So this one girl, she's a clairvoyant, so she can see things. And in her mind, she sees this other girl and knows, like, you are destined to be a great magical girl. And then she gives her business card and stuff. Eventually, the other girl calls her back and they go to like a job fair sort of situation. And we get to meet some other magical girls and see their powers. So there's one girl who can open doors, so it seems like it's a portal, so they can travel to like another country or a different area. And there's one who can like turn herself into a giant. And our main character has not manifested any powers or anything, so I'm curious how that's gonna come about, if there's a way that they kind of like force it to manifest. So I'm still very much in the beginning of that book. I don't know a whole lot, but I am interested to see what happens. Overall, I really liked it. Probably give it like a 3.5 out of 5 stars. This is day 2 of this readathon, and I've read a little over 8 hours. I'm just heating myself up some lunch in the microwave. Today is the 4th of July, so we're having people over, and I'm just really listening to a lot of Funny Story on audiobook while I prep some food and do some cleaning and stuff. So I might actually finish it today. We'll see. I have a friend who's gonna come over before some other people come over and probably just hang out and help me get ready for having people over. So I'll be chatting with her instead of listening, but I'm really enjoying this book. Just the like backstory of the characters, the way that they have, I guess, trauma from their family. I mean, the guy has kind of trauma from his mom, and the girl has trauma from her dad, and I feel like I can relate to it a little bit. And also they're not really in a romantic relationship, but they've at this point, kind of spoilers, at this point they've acknowledged that they could see that happening, but they're scared to mess things up, and they're scared of what could happen if they decide to do have a romantic relationship. And obviously they're living together, and I'm really loving this story. This might be another 5-star. Maybe this is a sign that I need to read all of Emily Henry's books, because this is only the second one I read, and it's, I don't know if it's better than Happy Place. It's up there though. I really like the comedy in this one. The other one felt a little bit deeper. There were some funny things that happened or that they reminisced on, but this one definitely has more comedy in it. But yeah, if you have enjoyed Emily Henry books, let me know what your favorite one is, because I need to know which one I should read after this, because I think I might be hooked. Okay, I'm about to start The Familiar, but I just wanted to show you how pretty this inside cover is. Like, look at that. Look how nice that is. This is pretty plain, but this is just so pretty. I really appreciate when they put some nice art in here. It really just adds to the feel of the book. Good morning. I am just checking in because I finished What Feast at Night. I was listening to it as an audiobook, and it's not a very long book at all, so it didn't take me too long, but I did really enjoy it. I think I'm giving it like a 3.5 or 4 stars. It's really good, but it didn't like blow me away. We're following the same characters as the previous book, What Moves the Dead, but they're in a different town, and we're kind of following like a different sort of monster, so to speak. So the first one was like a fungus that was taking over a woman's body and animating her, and this other one is kind of this like nightmare creature. It's really interesting. I did really enjoy it. It just wasn't quite a 5 stars. So I then also started The Familiar. I'm going through this a little bit slower because now it's during the week. I had hoped that I would finish this 24-hour readathon. It was 24 hours of reading during the weekend, but
as the weekend went on, we ended up having more and more social plans with friends, and I didn't have as much time to read as I initially thought I would. So we're now into the weekday, which means I don't have a ton of time to read aside from my like half an hour in the morning, unless I'm listening to an audiobook, because I listen to audiobooks in the car and stuff. But I don't have the audiobook for this, and I'm enjoying reading it physically, so I'm going to continue to do that. It is so far pretty interesting. I'm not very far into the book. I think I'm about 60 pages, yeah. And so far we're following this girl who works in this kind of like noble house, but it's kind of like, as far as the noble houses go, it's kind of on the poorer side, and she is kind of like a kitchen maid, I think, and then she also works as like a handmaid sort of situation, because she's helping the woman of the house also like get dressed and stuff like that. And she's not treated particularly poorly, but she's also not treated particularly well. And we find out that she is I think this is happening in like Spain. This book is taking place in Madrid, but our main character is also part Jewish, and so I guess there's this kind of language. It's like not quite Spanish, but it's nearly Spanish. I think it maybe takes a little bit of the Jewish into it as well. And she like says these phrases, and these phrases have power and can do like magic. But right now the church is owning magic. And so the only people that I think are technically supposed to be doing magic are people that are like ordained or part of the church. We haven't gotten a whole lot of information on that yet, so not entirely sure, but she uses these things as a shortcut in her work. So if she burns the bread, she can say a little phrase and unburn the bread. And unfortunately, she doesn't realize that the lady of the house had seen the burnt bread before she fixed it, and kind of has an idea that she's been doing some like secret magic or something. And so she tests her in order to confirm, and then makes her perform at like dinner parties. And now she's kind of caught the attention of people, which could be really dangerous because of the church. And that's kind of where I'm at. Not really sure where this is going, but it's interesting so far. It definitely has an interesting vibe, and I'm enjoying it and really excited to read the rest of the book. Okay, sorry if there's background noise, but it's hot, so I have the AC running. I am currently reading The Familiar. I'm really enjoying this book. I think I'm a little less than halfway through. I'm on page 137, and they just put in, there's just been a really ominous like foreshadowing, so now I'm really curious to see what's going to happen. But basically, I think I've explained the beginning of this book, but we have our main character, Lucia. I probably pronounced that wrong. But she has this kind of magic, and she just did something like not so great with it. I don't want to spoil it though, but something kind of scary happened, and there's this, they call it the Torneo. It's kind of like a tournament, I'm assuming, where there's multiple people with magic that have patrons that are kind of putting them forward in order to like entertain the king. It sounds like the king's kind of looking for like a holy warrior champion something. I guess not really warrior, but someone who can perform magic. And obviously, like I said before, magic is kind of owned by the church. We haven't really heard much about this Torneo and what's going to happen, but I think we're about to get into it in the second half of the book, so I'm excited to read about that because I always think that's really interesting. I'm about 18 hours into this readathon so far. I think I can finish this book before the end, so we'll see. But anyway, so far I'm like, I don't know, this is probably gonna be a 4 or 5 star so far with how things are going. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this. So far I recommend this book, but we'll see how I feel about it at the end. I'm here to end this video and tell you how I felt about The Familiar. I unfortunately did not stop the timer, and so it went on until I forgot that I had started it, but I finished all the books on my TBR for this readathon, so I'm just gonna say I completed the 24 hours. I think the last time I checked I was at like 22 or 23, so like I definitely
came close or finished the 24 hours, but I finished all the books, so I think we're good. I actually really enjoyed The Familiar. This was one going into it that I just wasn't sure how I'd feel about it. It takes place in, I want to say Spain, and that's just not somewhere that I like know a lot about or have a lot of connection to, but it was really interesting getting to learn about our character who also had Jewish background. And I don't know how much of this book is based in truth. Like, I know some of it was. There was a character, I think her name was Lucretia, who was an actual person. And so some of this has truth to it. And it does kind of take place around the Inquisition, and so people that had like witch-like powers were being put to death and whatnot. But yet we had this character who wanted to kind of like collect these people. And so he had a familiar who was called the Scorpion, and he had actually tricked this guy into making a deal into being his familiar in a way. And so the Scorpion gave all of his good luck to this guy. So he got pretty much everything he wanted. Nothing bad ever really happened to him. And the Scorpion lived basically forever and couldn't be killed. It was very interesting, and the familiar couldn't go too far away or he would disintegrate into ash. I guess that's a little bit of a spoiler. You do find that out within the first couple hundred pages. It was interesting to see the main character in these games and how she kind of reacted to other people and certain people that were really playing into it and being divisive and kind of manipulative, and then other people that were kind of faking it, I guess. And I don't know, it was a really interesting book. The way that it ended was a little anticlimactic, but it made sense. Like, I kind of saw it coming. It just wasn't that the most exciting ending. But I think overall I'd give this like a 4-star. It was really good, but it didn't have that 5-star feeling, you know? But I did really enjoy it. To be honest, I enjoyed, I think, all of the books that I read for this challenge, or challenge readathon, I don't know. I enjoyed all of these books and I'm really glad I did it. I feel like I was starting to kind of hit a reading slump, and that's why I wanted to do this, because I had been saving some of these books to read for this video, and I really wanted to read these books, so I decided, you know what, it's time to film it. But that 24 hours lasted much longer than I intended it to. I think it lasted like a week or two, but that's okay. We got there in the end and we finished all these books, and I really enjoyed them. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Maybe think about picking up some of these books, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!